Welcome back everybody to another one in my aviation history series, and today's episode 48 on my history of the RCAF. Now in today's video we're going to be looking at 445 Squadron, and as another one of these post-war units with no World War II history, this video will be a little shorter than previous. Now 445 Squadron really only existed for approximately 9 years and only had one aircraft type that they used, which probably is one of the shorter units in RCAF history. So before we get too far into this, let's jump right into it. And as always, my name is Sean, and this is Sean's Aviation. 445 Squadron was formed on April 1st of 1953 at RCAF Station North Bay as an all-weather fighter unit. It was assigned the squadron code SA and received the first aircraft CF-100 Mark IIIs in May. They were the first RCAF unit to operate the CF-100 on the North American Air Defense as part of NORAD. Now, RCAF Station North Bay was the home of number 3 all-weather fighter OTU, and as such, units who were formed at North Bay tended to eventually move on to other bases once they were trained up. Following this pattern, in September, the unit moved to RCAF Station Uplands, being co-located there with 428 Squadron when it stood up with CF-100s in 1954. Also of note, 445 Squadron was one of the few units to fly the Mark III dual-seat trainer, specifically in the process of training up new CF-100 pilots. In June of 1954, the unit converted to the CF-100 Mark IV-B, which was equipped with a more powerful radar. 445 Squadron was selected to be the first CF-100 unit to move to Europe, and on November 1st of 1956, it flew its aircraft over as part of Operation Nimble Bat 1. Now, for my videos on both Operation Leapfrog and Operation Nimble Bat, you'll see a link above. They were located at Marville, France, and were co-based with 441 and 439, which were both Flying Sabres, and once 445 was up and running, 410 Squadron returned to Canada. Once 445 Squadron was set up, they began training with other European forces. The CF-100 was the first all-weather fighter type to be based in Europe, and as such, they were very busy creating the standards and procedures that other units would follow as they arrived. Laying the groundwork for this all-weather fighter capability in Europe under NATO was one of the most important parts that the RCAF took part in, and 445 was right there at the sharp edge of this program. In 1962, the RAF decided to withdraw the CF-100 from service and replace it with the CF-101 Voodoo. And with that, there was a drawdown in total number of squadrons, and as such, 445 Squadron was on the chopping block, and it was disbanded on December 31st of 1962. And there you have it, folks. That is the history of 445 Squadron. Now, as I mentioned, it only existed for a short 9-year period from 53 to 62, and as far as I know, it's one of only 4 squadrons in the RCAF to have only operated a single airframe type in its existence. The other 3 are coming up a little later on with some of these higher numbers. To date, 445 Squadron has not been reactivated. It's one of the only squadrons really that's lasted that long without being reactivated. And I think the main reason why is as other squadrons have been deactivated, those numbers become available, and most of those numbers have a World War II lineage to them, so they're being reused. Those lower numbers are being recycled into the newer units to ensure that that legacy of the World War II service continues. And unfortunately, 445 just doesn't have that legacy to fall back on, and I highly doubt we'll end up seeing that number being reused again in the future, not unless the RCAF has a massive expansion in the aircraft number and types that they fly. So we're going to wrap it up here, folks. So thank you all for watching. We'll see you all next time.